Please put your hands together in Gassho and repeat the Nembutsu with me. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandats, 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 nam. Good morning. Ooh, that sounds so nice. And actually, it is so wonderful seeing so many people here today at the Tacoma Buddhist Temple. So, do any of the Dharma School students present today remember what this month of September and October, the month's theme of my Dharma talks is going to be, does anyone remember? How about Ashlyn or Bryony? Do you remember? That's okay. That's okay. That's totally fine. There was a little bit of a break in between, so that's no worries. Anyone from the Lotus class, do you remember? Okay, so don't worry about it. No, that's okay. Totally fine. The theme for this month and next month's Dharma talks is to return or return. Who remembers that now? You all remember? Yes, good. I see your hands. You remember that now. So last time we spoke on returning as meaning to come back. So we talked about what our feelings were like when we come back to the temple. I am certain everyone here, all the Dharma School students present, you all were feeling wonderful. You were feeling excited. You were feeling so happy to come back to the temple and see all of your friends. I'm certain everyone else was also really happy to come back to temple and spend time. But then we also talked about returning to school, right? A little bit anxiety there, right? You're in a new grade, you're above one, and you're going back to probably harder classes, maybe some more homework. Who here has more homework this year? Yeah, that's right. So sometimes you might feel a little bit anxiety, and that's okay too. We talked about our feelings, right? But then there's that ultimate feeling, right, of comfort, that ultimate feeling of comfort when we come back home to your home, right? To your place of most comfort, where you feel the best, where you feel at ease, there's no worries, you feel so wonderful. And that is the feeling of Namo Amida Butsu. That's the feeling you get. That's the feeling you have, and then you say Namo Amida Butsu. But today I'd also like to talk about to return. To return also means to give back. Okay, I know I'm probably dating myself a little bit here, but how many of you here present, and I'm certain the younger Dharma School students won't know what this is, but how many of you know what Blockbuster is? Blockbuster Video? Oh, okay, all right, yeah. So what did you do, right? You all wanted to see a movie you probably didn't own, maybe Disney movies, right? Things like that. And you would go to Blockbuster, you would have a membership at Blockbuster, and then you'd borrow a movie, right? You'd borrow a movie, you take it home. How many of you actually remember Blockbuster when they were doing it with VHSs? Like, I remember that, yeah. So you'd bring it back home, and then you'd play it. You'd probably watch it on a Friday night, movie night, right, with your family. But then what's the caveat to all of it? What's the condition? What's the whole thing about? Yes, you have to return it. Yes, you have to give it back. You have to give it back. You have to give it back. Now, Halloween is also coming up. How many of you are excited for Halloween? Yes? All right, wonderful. How many of you are planning on dressing up for Halloween? Yeah, very good. Okay. So how many of you, when you go, how many of you are planning to go to houses and get candy for Halloween? Oh, yes. What? Really? Okay, maybe I'm dating myself here a little bit. But okay. So, Ashlyn or Bryony, since you both are planning to go out, for Halloween and get candy, when you ring the doorbell and someone opens the door for you, what do you say? Very good. You say trick or treat. There's a whole thing to that, but I'm not going to get into where that comes from. But then you receive the candy, right? You receive candy. Then what do you say? You say thank you. Yes, absolutely. Yes, that is exactly the answer that I was looking for. Thank you is so important. Thank you is so important. Now, I know that we're all Buddhists, but I know that many of us still celebrate Christmas in a very family-like way, right? We celebrate Christmas as, we all get together for the holidays. We probably exchange presents. Dharma School students, how many of you receive presents? Yes, for Christmas? Yeah, absolutely, right? So what do you say when you receive a Christmas present? Thank you, very good, yeah. But here's a tougher question. How many of you say thank you after your meals at home? Okay, all right, that's good, that's okay. Yeah, so sometimes we, again, don't worry about it, yes. Meals at home. What about after your Dharma School lessons? Do you say thank you to your Dharma School teachers? I hope so. And then this means that for most and all occasions, thank you is most appropriate. This is to return the gratitude or the kindness, the ultimate kindness and compassion that we receive, the time that our teachers take out of their busy schedules. And guess what? Dharma School students, many of your teachers are already teachers for their full-time job, right? So they have to take time out of their busy schedule to come and teach us. And it's not that because they have to, it's because they have this overall feeling of sense of compassion for all of us to come and teach Dharma School. When I was fortunate enough to sit in the Zoom sessions to learn from the Dharma School teachers, I learned so much. And it was wonderful. I learned different lessons about the environment, about science, about how we feel, about sounds and noises. It was wonderful. And it was always important that we say thank you to our Dharma School teachers. But it's also important to say thank you when we receive meals, as our meals and the things that we take for granted on an everyday basis come from countless sources, countless causes and conditions. This is the working of the Dharma, working to feed us, to nurture us, to give us most important lessons. So when we realize all of the effort that is given on an everyday basis, everything that's done for us, it is so important that we return this kindness with thank you. And hopefully in the future, it's not just this thing that we say, oh, I have to do this, right? It's not just this feeling of, oh, I received something, I say thank you. It's you feel this deep sense of appreciation. And I believe, really sincerely believe, that Buddhism helps us to understand all of the causes and conditions that go into nurturing our Buddha Dharma, that go into nurturing our education in the Dharma, that go into nurturing our meals, goes to nurturing our upbringing. It is when we become truly aware of the countless causes and conditions that come together to give us these lessons, to give us this food, to give us these wonderful time together. We then have this deep sense of appreciation and we say thank you. And once again, say Namo Amida Butsu. The Nebbutsu is also a form of thank you. It goes deeper than just thank you, of course, and it has to do with the deep sense of understanding for us Dharma School students, for Dharma School teachers, for our members alike, that all these causes and conditions have come together to give us this wonderful place, to bring us with wonderful people and company, all of our Dharma friends sitting with us today. This goes back to the theme of return. When we receive gifts, we say thank you. We are not just obligated, but eventually we feel a deep sense of gratitude. We realize that the Buddha Dharma is truly working for our benefit. When all of you were brought here to this temple today, that is also the Dharma at work. When you are brought here and you receive this wonderful education from so many teachers who take time out of their busy days, that is the Dharma also at work. Once we come to realize and understand this, we have this deep sense of gratitude in our hearts. And so when all of you, and welcome back, Josiah, when you graduate from high school, you hopefully when you go out into the world, and I'm certain Josiah has gone out into the world, but we don't forget that deep sense of what we have gained in our upbringing, what we have gained, how we have been raised, who we have been spending time with, all of these people, the lessons that we have received. These are all important aspects to what brought us here to this moment, this time right now. So with that in mind, I ask us all to deeply reflect on the many lessons that we have received over the years throughout our time as Dharma School students, throughout our time as people here growing up, when you're going into the workforce, deeply reflect on all of these things that have brought us here today. I ask you all to do this. And when you feel that deep sense of gratitude, when you feel that deep sense of thank you, when you have that sense of returning the kindness, this is also when we put our hands together and say, Namo Amida Butsu. So with that in mind, Dharma School students, remember today after Dharma School, please look at your teachers, okay? Don't just say the words. Look at your teachers. Look at them and show them that you have a deep sense of appreciation. So with that in mind, please put your hands together and repeat the Nembutsu with me. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, namanda, nam. Would you all please join me in Gassho? Reverently contemplating the true essence of the Pure Land Way, I see that Amida's directing of virtue to sentient beings has two aspects: the aspect for going forth to the Pure Land and the aspect for our return to this world. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, namanda, nam. Good morning again. Good morning. Yeah, it sounds much more full when we have all the Dharma School students in here and the Dharma School teachers, but that is all right. So today we will begin once again our adult Dharma message. So last weekend was the Northwest District Convention. This was my first Northwest District Convention in person. For those of you who are visiting every year and don't know what this is, every year, all of the temples in the Northwest District come together and the various temples in this district share responsibilities of who's hosting. So this year's was Idaho, Oregon. And it took place in Ontario, Oregon. How many of you have been there before? Oh, okay, very nice. I was very moved and felt very, very good about this convention. It was interesting as I do know that the other districts have done conventions or have, do put on a weekend seminar or something like that. But this is the first time I've been to something like a bit like something that is like a district wide. Everyone comes together. We all do fun activities. We all have fun workshops. It was a wonderful thing. And I was very moved by many of the by all of the talks. I was so happy to meet new people and to meet members of the Idaho, Oregon Buddhist Temple. And I would actually like to take this time for thanking the Idaho, Oregon Buddhist Temple for hosting this year's Northwest Convention, despite the terrible occurrence that happened in their basement, which was the fire. But they continued, they still went ahead and hosted the seminar. So it was very wonderful. So thank you to the members and the ministers of the Idaho, Oregon Buddhist Temple. Today's quote comes from the first part of the chapter on the teaching, on the chapter of teaching in Shinran Shonin's Jodo Shinshu. It talks, in a sense, of the overall goal of our tradition. Now, we all know in Buddhism, our overall goal is to become enlightened. But in our sect of Buddhism, our school of Jodo Shinshu, our goal is to be born in the Pure Land. But you will notice the story does not end there. Even after we are born in the land of bliss, according to Shinran, we don't just stay there as if we're at a vacation resort for the rest of our lives. We are awakened to the true Dharma and come back to this world to guide others to that land. And this keeps in tradition with our theme, actually, or this keeps in theme with our theme of returning or to return, right? This is to return to this world. Now, of course, we do need to be careful about how literally we take this message. But in a sense, I felt something very similar to this teaching during my time at the Northwest Convention. So it was the feeling, of course, during dinner, during the time, I was interacting with everybody. It was also the place. So for those of you who have not been to Ontario, Oregon before, it's very much like a farming community. There's a lot of farmland out there. The drive there were parts where I was very glad that we had a full tank of gas, because if we became empty, it's like we would be out of luck, just have to stand on the side of the road and maybe wave a car down or something and say, hey, can you help us get some gas? Because there would be nothing within maybe 20 miles in either direction. But regardless, once we get to Ontario, the people that I came into contact with were very, very warm and very, very helpful, very caring, and very friendly. After the conference was done, we actually spent some time with, we stayed one extra day, or we stayed one more day. So after the conference was finished on Sunday, we stayed all of Sunday, and we came home on Monday. And we actually had dinner with, do many of you know the Kameshige family from Ontario, Oregon? Yes, so one person does. They were so wonderful. They took us out to this Chinese restaurant there in Ontario, Oregon called Far East. For those of you who have been to Ontario, Oregon, have you been to Far East before? Okay, it actually, you know what? The food was delicious. The food was really good. I had shrimp egg foo young for the first time. And what was even more wonderful was the company that we kept. Many of the people who were inside the restaurant knew each other. And it felt kind of like that small town feeling. And I couldn't help but feel a very similar feeling of the time I spent with my grandparents in Lodi, California. My grandfather was the same way. He would always, when I would go on his walks in the neighborhood or throughout the community of Lodi, he would stop and say hi and shake hands with total strangers. With people I didn't know, but he knew, as if he knew everybody in that community. It was a very warm and wonderful feeling. And it made me realize, again, just how strong our Northwest District is when we have our links to and ties to each other. But it also really brought back memories of my grandparents. So when we say things like, okay, we are after we die, we are born in the Pure Land, and we come back to this world to lead others to the Pure Land, I also believe that this feeling is part of that sense. When we interact with people or interact with places who remind us of our past loved ones who have taught us so many lessons before in the past, we realize that even though that they are gone from this world, we still have a very strong family connection with them. We still realize that this feeling is here throughout all of us. And this is also the working of Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion. This feeling during dinner, the setting, my time with my grandparents, all of that brought up this wonderful feeling of nostalgia, but it went deeper than that. It was not only that, but the members' devotion to the temple as well. I could get this real deep sense that, and even Bishop Harada actually mentioned this as well, that Idaho, Oregon could have easily have said, because of what happened, we think we shouldn't, go forward with this conference. But they still did it anyway. And it was a very warm feeling, and it was a very lovely conference. And it really brought us all together to once again listen to and share in the Dharma. So once again, also during this time and during the service, we are also celebrating Ohigan, where we celebrate the fall equinox. But for those of you who don't remember what Ohigan means, Higan means other shore, and it symbolizes the shore of enlightenment, right? All of us here are on this shore right now, the shore of Samsara, the shore of the realm of Samsara, the shore of birth and death, the realm of ignorance. And then twice a year, we observe the realm of compassion and enlightenment. But in our tradition, we strictly state that we don't just dwell and stay on the shore of enlightenment forever and just enjoy ourselves. We must come back to this world and teach us and teach other members who are also in the world of suffering to come back and also go towards the realm of enlightenment. We are on the shore of samsara. We go to the shore of enlightenment, but we must still return to the shore to save all sentient beings. And while I don't take this to be totally literal or 100% like this is what actually happens, I do believe that there is this sense of feeling that we get from the past loved ones who have already crossed over the shore to the Pure Land, the realm of enlightenment, where we continue to feel the lessons and learn from our loved ones who have long passed. It was this feeling that I was able to receive when I was at the Four Winds Cultural Center in Ontario, Oregon. And it also not only did it make me reflect on and think about the past and remember my grandparents, but it got me inspired for the future as well. As some of you may know, and probably or might be dreading, I don't know, but Tacoma Buddhist Temple is going to be hosting next year's Northwest Convention. But because of this year's convention, I am nothing but excited and energized and looking forward to it. More time for us to share in the Dharma with our Dharma friends throughout the Northwest District. And this is kind of our duty. Yes, Tacoma Buddhist Temple is our top priority, of course, but we must also share the lessons and the things that we have learned and listen from other teachers within our district as well. And this is what the Northwest District Convention gives us the opportunity to do. We are able to come outside of our little bubble here and go into a little bit of a bigger bubble and listen and learn from all of our Dharma friends, but not just that, but enjoy our time as well and enjoy good conversation, good company, and a wonderful feeling of interconnectedness. So with this in mind, I certainly am looking forward and can't wait almost until next year's convention. And I certainly hope everyone here will be in attendance at this convention and share in the Dharma with all of our Dharma friends in the Northwest and maybe even beyond. So thank you all very much for coming today for our Ohigan service where we observe the fall equinox. And I certainly hope, we're going to actually experience, I think summer is almost not done with us yet. We're going to have a day of 80-degree weather today, and tomorrow we're going to have a little bit of an 83-degree weather as well. So try your best to stay a little bit on the cooler side. And as always, say the Nembutsu. Please join me in Gassho. Reverently contemplating the true essence of the Pure Land Way, I see that Amida's directing of virtue to sentient beings has two aspects: the aspect for our going forth to the Pure Land and the aspect for our return to this world. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Nam mandoks, nam mandoks, nam mandoks, nam mandoks.